show, so I'm going to wake James up and drive him to work.
Under the dim light of the Royal Albert Hall, one woman stands alone. No dancers, no lasers, no spectacle. Just a microphone, a black dress, and a voice that can silence 1,000 hearts at once. Her name is Adele, a girl from Tottenham who never needed perfection, only honesty. While pop stars around her chased fame, filters, and fireworks, she chased something simpler: truth. Every heartbreak became a hymn, every tear a melody the world could feel. When she sang "Hello," the world didn't just listen. It remembered its own pain. When she whispered, "Someone like you," millions cried not for her, but for themselves. How did a shy, heartbroken girl become the voice of a generation? A woman who turned sorrow into strength and silence into thunder? This is not just the story of a singer. It's the story of how pain found power, and how Adele healed the world, one song at a time. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins was born on a quiet May day in 1988 in Tottenham, North London, a working-class neighborhood far from glamour or fame. Her father, Mark, left when she was just 2 years old, leaving her mother, Penny, to raise her alone. They moved from one small flat to another, surviving on little more than love, laughter, and the sound of old soul records spinning on a cheap turntable. Penny wasn't rich, but she gave Adele something far more valuable: belief. She told her daughter that a powerful voice could open any door, even those the world tried to close. As a child, Adele was shy, often lost in her imagination. She'd lock herself in her room, mimicking the greats: Aretha Franklin, Ella Fitzgerald, Etta James. Those voices weren't just music to her. They were comfort, family, and freedom. At school, she wasn't the prettiest, the loudest, or the most confident. But when she sang, everything changed. Teachers fell silent. Classmates stopped talking. Her pain, her loneliness, her longing, all found their way into sound. It was there, in that quiet council flat in London, that a wounded little girl unknowingly began crafting the voice that would one day mend millions of hearts. At 17, Adele graduated from the Brit School, the same stage that once launched Amy Winehouse and Leona Lewis. But while others chased record deals, she was still unsure if her voice could ever matter. That changed when a friend posted her demo, Hometown Glory, on MySpace. Within weeks, it caught the attention of XL Recordings, one of London's most respected indie labels. A few months later, a shy teenager with a guitar walked into their office and walked out with a record deal that would change music forever. Her debut album, 19, released in 2008, wasn't built for fame. It was raw, imperfect, full of heartbreak and honesty, everything the industry wasn't used to. Yet, it struck a chord. Chasing Pavements played across radios worldwide. Critics called her the old soul trapped in a young woman's body. But to Adele, it wasn't about being old. It was about being real. Her voice didn't need auto-tune. Her lyrics didn't hide behind metaphors. They told the truth. Simple, painful, beautiful. In a world obsessed with speed and spectacle, Adele reminded people to stop and feel. And that reminder, that quiet defiance, was just the beginning of her storm. The year was 2011, and the world was about to meet the storm named 21. An album born from heartbreak, sung from the ashes of a love that nearly broke her. When Rolling in the Deep hit the airwaves, it wasn't just another breakup song. It was war, rage, grief, and power all wrapped in one unstoppable voice. The chorus hit like thunder, the piano like fire, and suddenly, the shy girl from Tottenham was everywhere. The charts, the awards, the hearts of millions. Didn't just sell records, it defined a decade. 7 Grammys, 24 weeks at #1, and a place in history books that few could ever dream of. But what made it unforgettable wasn't the numbers. It was the truth. Then came 25. The first word, hello, felt like a ghost knocking on the door of our own pasts. It became the fastest video to reach 1 billion views in YouTube history. Adele's voice didn't just fill arenas. It filled living rooms, cars, and lonely nights around the world. Her concerts weren't performances. They were confessions. She laughed between songs, cursed on stage, and cried with her fans. In an age of filters and fame, she was painfully human, and people loved her for it. At her peak, Adele was more than a singer. She was the mirror through which millions saw their own stories. Heartbreak, hope, and the courage to love again. For every tear she sang, the world answered with silence, listening, healing, believing once more that emotion still had a place in pop music. But even the strongest voices can crack. Behind the spotlight, behind the sold-out arenas and golden trophies, Adele was breaking. Her sudden fame had swallowed her whole. Paparazzi followed her every move. Every pound she gained or lost, every word she spoke, became headlines. And when her marriage to charity entrepreneur Simon Konecki fell apart, the woman who once sang about heartbreak was now living it again. The divorce hit harder than any note she had ever sung. She described it as a soul fracture. For the first time, her songs couldn't fix her pain. They only reminded her of it. The tabloids turned her healing into gossip. They judged her body, her silence, her choices. When she reappeared years later, slimmer and seemingly reborn, the world debated her weight instead of her strength. But Adele stayed grounded. She didn't fight back with words. She let her voice do it for her. In interviews, she admitted the truth few celebrities ever say out loud. I was lost. I didn't recognize myself. I had everything. And yet I felt empty. Those years of isolation, therapy, and motherhood would later become the foundation of her comeback. Because for Adele, pain wasn't a scandal. It was her teacher. She didn't need to reinvent herself to survive Hollywood. She just needed to remember who she was before fame. The girl in Tottenham who sang to heal. And as the world kept watching, waiting, and speculating, Adele was quietly rebuilding. Not her career, but her soul. When Adele returned in 2021, the world held its breath. After 6 years of silence, she released 30. Not just an album, but a confession. It wasn't written for charts or Grammys. It was written for her son, Angelo, a letter explaining why his parents couldn't stay together. Gone was the young woman singing about being left behind. In her place stood a mother, a survivor, a woman who had learned that love doesn't always mean staying. Songs like Easy on Me revealed a gentler voice, not weaker, but wiser. There was no rage this time, only reflection. She wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. She had already done that. Then came her Las Vegas residency, Weekends with Adele, a show that wasn't about spectacle, but soul. No dancers, no choreography, just her, a piano, and the truth. Crowds wept as she laughed between tears, cracking jokes 1 minute and breaking hearts the next. Adele didn't return to reclaim fame. She came back to reclaim peace. The world finally saw her not as the queen of heartbreak, but as a woman who had learned to heal, to forgive, and to love herself loud enough for everyone to hear. In a world obsessed with noise, Adele reminded us that silence, followed by truth, can move mountains. Her journey was never about fame or fortune. It was about finding strength in vulnerability and turning heartbreak into healing. From the tiny flat in Tottenham to the grand stages of Las Vegas, her story has always been the same. A woman, a voice, and a heart unafraid to break. Adele's music doesn't chase trends. It chases honesty. She doesn't sing to impress. She sings to connect. And in doing so, she's become something far greater than a pop star. She's become the voice that healed a generation. Because when Adele sings, she doesn't just tell her story. She tells ours. The pain, the love, the letting go, the growing up, all wrapped in a voice that feels like home. Her legacy isn't in her records sold or awards won. It's in the people who found the courage to cry again, and then stand up stronger. If Adele's voice has ever touched your soul, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.